Well, tonight we investigate how Amazon has left hundreds of British businesses on the brink of ruin. Newly administered red tape at the online giant means many of its smaller online sellers in the UK are having their hard-earned cash frozen. Some are waiting for payments of as much as £300,000 held up by VAT checks, and they say they're close to collapse. This is, once again, a David and Goliath-style story about the profits of a very big business and the treatment of the smaller people it relies on. These are among some of the stories that have been shared with us. Quote, I have been waiting 2 weeks for payments. I have submitted all documents requested, will not be able to pay bills or staff in 2 weeks. Another said, quote, I have provided them my British passport, council tax bill, utility bill, tenancy agreement and more for the last 2 weeks. Today, 2 years rather, today I received an email stating that I have failed verification because they determined that I'm still not UK established business. I was just shocked. Now, for people who have put blood, sweat and tears into growing a business, these types of bureaucratic blocks can obviously be absolutely devastating. One seller actually saying, quote, I have to confess the debacle is affecting my mental health and I'm having suicidal thoughts. Let's remind ourselves of the comparative scale we're talking about here. Some of the larger sellers are running serious businesses via Amazon with annual turnover as high as 200k. But, of course, all of that pales into comparison to the might of Jeff Bezos, the boss of Amazon, whose wealth has effectively grown by more than 34 million every day for the last decade, adding up to 12.6 billion every year. Now, in a statement, Amazon saying, quote, UK law requires it to collect and remit VAT on transactions involving overseas sellers to be verified, which may involve additional requests for information about where they are based. We continue to work to minimise any inconvenience this may cause, and we have released funds for businesses as soon as we have verified them. We encourage government to continue to improve the public information available to determine if a seller is UK-based for VAT purposes. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Anton Ulyanov, who is one of those caught up in this story, tax campaigner Richard Allen, who's previously uncovered abuses of the system, including 11,000 companies, all registered to a single address, while Small Business Commissioner Liz Barkley also joins us down the line for her reaction. Liz, I'll get back to you. I'm going to start with the gentleman in the studio to find out how this has affected them. Thank you very much for coming in, making time. Anton, just give us a broad sense of what's going on here, how it's affected you.
So I think I just woke up on 25th of January to the message from Amazon saying that they think that I'm not established in UK for VAT purposes and that my funds have been frozen, and they needed some documents from me to complete this verification, which I collected very quickly because I am UK based. I sent everything to them, and then they responded that they needed exactly the same documents again, because on Amazon the system is extremely automated. Then I went on the Amazon sellers forum and I realized that I was not the only one. There are actually hundreds, probably even thousands of sellers affected, exactly in the same issue. Absolutely no notice whatsoever. Our funds have been frozen because Amazon thinks that we are not established in UK. So we just started talking to each other, sharing our stories. We started sending Amazon more and more documents, which I have to highlight. They just request extremely sensitive information, our mortgage agreements, our unique taxpayer numbers, VAT numbers, our passports, just to send to them via email, which is a very insecure way of sharing documents. And then they sit on these documents and then they come back to you asking for the same documents again and again and again, because their system is automated. We don't know why the system doesn't accept our documents. When we try to talk to someone with Amazon, within Amazon, it's just absolutely impossible, because you might call their, support. Then the support just makes a record of your call and they say, oh, we, transfer it to the relevant team. They will reach out to you. They never do reach out to you. So then we just realized that we needed perhaps more help, because Amazon clearly doesn't listen to us and do not understand, the issues that we are facing. Because, we are small businesses, as you said, right? We are not sitting on the pots of money, right? So if the cash stops coming from Amazon, we cannot pay the bills. I personally, I'm a one-man show in my business, but other people with whom I talked, they employ people. They need to pay those people's salaries. They need to pay their suppliers, etc. They cannot do it today. Today is actually the deadline for me to pay my VAT for the Q4 2023, which I cannot pay because Amazon did not give me my money to pay VAT that I have to pay to HMRC. And then we started collecting the issues, and then I think someone on the forum suggested that we reach out to the Small Business Commissioner, Liz Barclay, and we started sending her emails, and she has been just very, very helpful to us. I would like to thank her again. She started collecting our stories, our contact details, and forwarding that to Amazon and to Minister of Trade in UK. And it sounds like only through this, Amazon finally heard and understood what was going on. And slowly we can see that they possibly released some money to some of the people. But there are still a lot of people who I'm sure they're watching to this show right now, whose money has been frozen. They have no idea for how long it's gonna last. They don't know if they will get this money back at all and what's next.
Anton, what kind of things do you sell on Amazon?
I just sell children's toys.
Children's toys. And you've been in the business for a few years. Just so our audience
I
can
have
get a
been in the
sense,
business for a few years, yeah.
Of how this affects them. Richard, I will come back to you, but given that you just mentioned Liz Barclay and we've got her sitting, waiting, listening, I mean, that must be nice to hear, Liz, and thanks for the work that you've done already on this. When you were contacted by these Amazon sellers, what was your initial reaction?
Horror, frankly, because I know only too well that small businesses cannot afford to be waiting for a few £100s for a few days before it starts to have an impact on them. And this is what we're talking about here. I have been dealing over the past week, 10 days, with hundreds of sellers who are on the different fora and the different groups. But I'm also told that that's the tip of the iceberg, because many of the sellers don't engage with the different groups. And so they're battling this alone. And what we tried to do was to gather as much information as possible, evidence gathering. We then had a round table with sellers like Anton, who very kindly gave us their time and came along to tell us what their experiences were. We invited HMRC and the Department for Business and Trade, and everybody listened. As a result of everybody listening, we were able to arrange with Amazon that people who contacted us would have their details sent directly through to Amazon, and they would try to expedite the resolution of their accounts, get their accounts opened again, get their money flowing through to them as quickly as possible, because that's the only way these sellers can trade. As a result of all of that, the department went to the minister's office, the minister wrote to Amazon, and we are beginning to see a trickle of small businesses coming through saying, I've had my account reinstated, I've got my funds, I can now trade. But for every one of those, I am still seeing several sellers coming through to me saying, we haven't had our money released yet.
It must be intensely frustrating. And as you say, quite a wide-reaching problem. Let's come to Richard Allen in the studio. From what you're observing here, what has happened with the VAT system that sellers are required to provide this information, and then obviously getting stuck in this bureaucratic nightmare when it comes to Amazon and the paperwork? What's at the heart of all this?
Well, I mean, firstly, I'd like to say it's completely unacceptable that sellers have their accounts shut down like that. And it happens all the time, but not on this scale. I think what's different here is so many people have had their accounts, but I know of examples where people have been locked out of their accounts over other issues. And I think there needs to be some protection in law for sellers on these marketplaces so that they have rights. Because at the moment, there's absolutely nothing you can do. And I congratulate the government for taking interest, Liz for getting involved. And I know Kevin Hollinrake has also written a letter. But basically, what's happened is that these online marketplaces, and Amazon isn't alone in this, have been gamed by lots of businesses from outside the UK that have pretended to have a business in the UK. And they've infiltrated them to a great degree. And obviously it's come to the point now where action's being taken. But in the process, they're penalising innocent, law-abiding UK businesses. It's the equivalent of if you let, 1,000 people into a concert, half of them had a fake ticket, but you penalised all the people that had a genuine ticket. And it's unfortunate that it's happening this way, but in some ways, at least the issue's finally being looked at, because we've seen these, mainly from China, gaming the system now since 2015, and we've had up on our website all the information for HMRC and the government to look at, and hopefully now it will be taken seriously.
Certainly, it's been going on for many years, some say as long as a decade, and it could affect many more platforms other than just Amazon.
It absolutely is. It's not just Amazon. Amazon have taken fairly draconian measures in dealing with it, but it's an issue that's affecting others.
Anton, is this going to change the way you do business? I mean, obviously, you've talked about not being able to file your Q4 VAT return at this point, but are you thinking of modifying in any way, unfortunately?
Absolutely. And by modifying, I would say going away from Amazon because I cannot trust them anymore. Another issue that a lot of sellers are experiencing right now, if people know you can actually use Amazon fulfillment services, so you send them your stock in bulk, and then when something sells, Amazon sends it to the customer for you, and it actually saves you time. So they also frozen our ability to get our stock back. So I cannot sell it on eBay. I cannot sell it anywhere. Amazon is holding it hostage for me, and it's quite a big sum of money. So yeah, moving forward, I had the big plans this year to expand my business on Amazon because I found it quite easy, you know, in terms of my time involvement. But I'm not so sure anymore that I will trust them because, you know, as you said, right now it's a lot of people. But if it was just 20 or 30 people, the government would never be interested in it, right? So I will absolutely modify my business strategy and I will start moving away from Amazon. I do not trust them anymore.
Well, before I move on to get final comment from Liz, I also have to, we obviously read out the statement from Amazon. We reached out to them and I have to let you know that Amazon also told us when they knew we were doing the report this evening to ask you and the other sellers that you work with to get in touch with them and they'll do what they can to sort this out.
We already had many times. They just need to sort out their customer support system. Yeah.
Understood. Look, let's go back to Liz Barkley for this final comment because Liz, perhaps there will be more momentum and interest in these types of cases now, given what happened with the post office scandal, ongoing, of course, the Horizon scandal. I'm not saying this is anywhere near like that or similar in any way, but there is something here about large businesses and the everyday person. What has this told you about the way that big tech operates in this country?
Well, I am sure that it is entirely possible that we could have tragedies over this because there are small businesses that have sent their all the documentation in up to 12 times and are not getting any response whatsoever. So I think there is a problem with the technology somewhere. It may be that it's artificial intelligence. It may be that those bots are simply not responding to the requests and the documentation coming in through the customer service support scheme. But there's also a question here about where are the human beings? Why is it not possible to contact anybody? At some stage, people always want to talk to somebody when something goes wrong. And we're not seeing that. We're not seeing customer service lines providing any kind of human contact and customer service. So we need to be using the technology. Yes, of course we do. But we actually need to be thinking seriously about when things go wrong, how do we put them right as quickly as possible? Because these businesses do not want firms that shouldn't be trading in the UK to be trading, but a lot of them are not even earning enough to be registered for VAT. And so they need to be able to talk to somebody to say, I've sent my documentation, you've got everything that I can possibly provide for you and that you've asked for, and therefore I really do need your help here because I've got to be up and trading again as quickly as possible. This is lives, this is families, this is employees, it's their families. That's what we're talking about here. And I don't want to see any tragedies occurring because big businesses put the tech in without testing it properly and putting in the human backup.
Liz Barkley, Richard Allen, Anton Ulyanov, we thank you all for your time on this story this evening. We're sure we'll continue it as well.